right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And Lorianne's going to let people in. So as they come in, welcome. And I am Kim Parkinson, podcast growth coach, strategist, podcast host of Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business. And this is my home office. So welcome. A little bit different than you usually see me. A lot of our people here are from the New England Podcasters Group. Thank you so much. And this is kind of a continuation of what we talked about on Saturday because there's so many other pieces to it, and we were kind of going over anyway. So it was a good way to segue into this next little place here. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for popping in. So I just wanted to kind of go over. I will send out again for anybody that did not get this worksheet in the class. But what basically we talked about is the keywords for your particular title, specifically in that one. And that would be, can someone tell you who the show is for? Can they tell you what that problem is that you solve? And would it actually show up in Apple or Spotify when you search for that? So that is a couple of really important pieces that you want to make sure that you are found for. Now, as I discussed in Saturday, if you go to Apple Podcasts today, and I go in often, I have not gone in today, but if you go into Apple Podcasts and you type in spiritual business, as of Saturday, I was the fourth one on the list going down. And then if you typed in podcast growth coach, I was the number one podcast being shown up for that. And that is what I'm hoping that you guys can all get from your podcast. So again, what we need is in the title, who is the show for? Can they tell what the problem is that it solves? And would it actually show up with their searches and their topics? So I do have a little presentation. I stink at presentations as far as like making them really pretty, but I'm going to show you it anyway, because, then hopefully you'll see you'll get to remember something as you go along. So let me share my screen here. Get to my presentation. It's only a few things there. And let me just hit the slideshow button there. Okay. All right. Please give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. So here it is. So where are your keywords hiding? Beyond the title, 6 keyword zones every podcaster needs to know. And we talked about the first one. So Saturday, if you remember, we talked about Patrick got nose candy. He was very thrilled that he got that one. Let me tell you, he mentioned it again and again. Nose candy, the name of the podcast, does not exactly tell you that it's about perfume. Somebody actually mentioned, when I mentioned it to a client earlier this week, she said, I don't know, is that drug paraphernalia? So very similar to what Patrick I came up with. And then I believe Stephanie actually mentioned connecting the dots. She thought it was about true crime. And I actually really thought that was brilliant of her to come up with that, because I really thought, you know what? I can see where she's going with that one. But yeah, Baptist management systems. So not exactly what what you're hoping for here. So I loved this exercise. I'm definitely going to go back to it because it really did kind of give you that aha moment of what it was that you're looking at. Now, if this is new to you and this is your first time here, let me also give you one more of these. So I have all of these here from the other day. And so today I'm going to give you twin set unzipped. Twin set unzipped. It's just the first one on the pile. If you were to tell me what twin set unzipped was for, could you possibly give any kind of, what would that podcast be about? Anybody? Anybody want to, you can either unmute or you can just share it in the chat, whichever you'd like. I'd love to know what you think twin set unzipped is for. So let's see, open the chat here. Clothing stylers, fashion style. Okay, okay. All right. That's good. I like that. All right. Outfits for twins. I love that. Twin siblings. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that particular podcast, the description of this podcast is, we are twin set Best known as influencers, content creators, and brand owners, as well as best friends and business partners, the weekly show is a place to celebrate fierce friendship, motherhood, entrepreneurship, girl power, girl bossing, funny stories, epic fails, advice, daily obsessions, ultimate hacks, and what milk they're drinking this week. Yeah, I don't that tells me anything about yeah, what exactly what twin set unzipped is. It doesn't even say if they are twins in the description. So I don't know if Sarah and Philippa are twins. It does not tell me, but maybe they are. Maybe that's why they named it twin set unzipped. Who knows, right? Who knows? So, but that is kind of um, a way to think about your podcast title, right? So, can somebody just by looking at your title name say, "Huh, I know what that's about." And again, that was what we talked about on Saturday, right? We talked about how clever isn't always found, but clear is. What is this for? What problem does it solve? And could they find you when they're searching? Again, the name of my podcast is Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business. Obviously, I'm talking about podcasting, and obviously, yeah, I'm clearly going for people that have a spiritual business. So, can you listen to my podcast if you don't have a spiritual business? Yep, but my clientele for the most part is our spiritual people. So look at that. All right. So, as we talked about podcast title, I obviously went over all of this, but then I must have made a title slide for it as well. So, keywords that people are searching for. And that's actually the important part to think about. And this is the part that people struggle with is what keywords and where can I find those? Here's the thing. I encourage you to open Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and think about a keyword of what your podcast is about, right? So what is it going to be? We talked last week about Lorianne's, and if you type in public speaking, she is one of the top ones that show up in public speaking. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to brainstorm on to find those keywords. And that is now going to start a keyword bank. Once you have that keyword bank, then you can put it in all the rest of these amazing places. I also want to just reiterate that you do not want to use any articles at the beginning. Utilize that real estate. And that goes for all of what I'm going to tell you today. Don't start a sentence with a, the, from, any of that if you can help it. And then you don't have to put podcast or show or anything like that within any of these areas, any of these zones that I'm going to talk about. And then clever spelling, I would highly suggest not using it. If you're going to use it, hide it deep within the description. If you are very well known put it this way, if you're getting over 5,000 downloads an episode or more, you use whatever words you want. You're good. You probably don't need to continue to really work on those keywords. But if you aren't, then making sure that you have these keywords is important. Okay. Again, Apple is searchable. I'm sorry. This is actually zone 2. Oh, look at that. Okay, perfect. So zone 2, your name. Okay. I did briefly talk to you about this, but if you type in podcast growth coach, I'm going to pop up in Apple because my name in my podcast is Kim Parkinson, podcast growth coach. So when you type that in, I'm number 1 that pops up, or number 2. Sometimes I'm number 2, but hopefully today I'm number 1. And here's the thing. If you used a keyword in your title, don't bother using it in the host name as well. So this is the second place. This is going to be within your hosting platform. So when I say hosting platform, if you don't know what that means, Buzzsprout, Libsyn, Captivate, any one of those there, you want to be able to use this within your hosting platform. You can actually go to your settings and just change it at any time. If you find that your name is not being found for whatever reason, then change it. If you find that that keyword isn't popping you up to the top, then change it. Now, I just had a call earlier today with somebody. She just launched her podcast. Congratulations. And she read this and she went and she searched and she was on there. She was up at the top there so she could see. So that is what we want. We always want whatever it is that you are talking about, whatever it is that you are known for, to kind of float to the top. And so your host name is zone number 2. Podcast title, host name. Okay. I think I have a question here. Do I have a question? Name field in Captivate. I went in to add more and it had a warning telling me not to because I could get banned. Really? I have never seen that. And I'm in Captivate myself and I have changed it. And I've changed clients as well. And I've never seen that it could be banned. Interesting, Jennifer. I will do a little research on that and get back to you, but I've used that successfully. Maybe did you use too long of a title or something? I'm not sure. And maybe if you I want to just double check here. So in Captivate, it's the settings. You click on your name there and that pops up and you in your podcast settings and you'll change your host name. That's what you're looking for. So yeah, host name. Yeah, take a screenshot for me when you do that because I will definitely look into that because that is not something I have found, and I've been doing this for a while now. So, how long after making these changes can we expect to see our podcast showing up? It's going to take at least an hour for Apple to catch up, and then after that, it's probably going to take for people to see it. It could be immediate. Lorianne said it took her 7 days. Within 7 days, she had 200% downloads, new downloads. So, yeah. So I would definitely just keep looking, but it's definitely going to take at least an hour for Apple to just catch up, Apple or Spotify to catch up once you've made those changes. And then I would just check every day because I've seen it almost immediately. So, yeah. Yeah. And then the more that you use the keywords in the other zones that we're going to talk about, the more you're going to start floating to the top. So, all right. Zone number 3. Let me move the chat over here so that I have it, but it's not available so I can see it. Zone number 3. All right. Your show description. All right. The first 2 sentences in your show description are the most important, but everything in your show description is important. Here is my formula for show description, which, by the way, is not here. So write it down or take it later. What I like to do is the very first paragraph. I like to make sure that that paragraph is completely about what somebody's going to get from that show. Like, who is this show for? This show is for podcasters. This show is for spiritual women. This show is for light healers, priestesses, astrologers, pastors, ministers. All of those are keywords. All of those things are going to be what people are going to be maybe searching for. So don't keyword stuff it as much as you want it to be readable, but you want it to have a lot of different words in there that are keywords. So make it something that people are easy to read, but also make it something that the algorithm's going to say, aha, yes, those are the people that we're going to go to. Now, the second paragraph that I like to do for my formula is then talk about you. And when I say talk about you, I also mean anything that you are known for. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, I had a coaching call, and the woman that I did this with, she did not say anywhere on her website, her podcast, or anything that she was a TEDx speaker. It came up in conversation during our call. I was like, what? Wait a second. Why is this not in your show description? So if you're an author, if you're a TEDx speaker, if whatever it is, if you're a doctor, a therapist, any of that, put all of those in that second paragraph so that they can be found too, because you never know what people are looking for. And it's also going to be a little bit of an authority builder. People are going to be like, ooh, I really like it. I really like to watch that, like to listen to that person because they have credentials, right? So this is where I would put Kim Parkinson, certified podcast growth coach, certified podcast manager, that type stuff. So people can be like, oh, I see her now. And then my third paragraph that I like to put in a show description is what is about my programs, maybe a little bit more about the podcast itself, like what do I have to offer to you? Do I have like a framework of a program that I use? Do I have something that I offer? And then do I weave that into my podcast somehow? So the last paragraph or the third paragraph is kind of more about your program itself or your podcast itself, depending on if you have a program or offers. Some people don't. So I like to make sure that you know whether or not you want to use your program and offer or your podcast, more topics about that. Then, if you've ever looked at my description, I also have a little section there where it says this podcast covers topics such as, and then I put in 10 Google style keywords. I'm sorry, 10 Google style questions there filled with keywords. So if anybody was to search for, spiritual entrepreneurs starting a podcast, I'm actually written that right in my description. And so that particular description can then be found because I'm actually answering the question or putting the question in there and answering the question in my podcast. So it's just another way of doing that, just like some questions right in there. Do you have to have 10? No, you can have 5. You can have, whatever. I'm also going to mention, because I know this, if you are Spotify for creators, if you are using them as a platform host, they don't allow you all of this space. They only allow you, I think it's 500 characters or something like that. So you have to be very prudent on the keywords that you use within that. So if you are a Spotify for creators, maybe write out everything I said and then basically throw it into ChatGPT and say, please make this only 500 characters because they just don't allow it in Spotify for creators. So okay. So zone 3, we're still going to put in the who, the what, and the key, weave in all those keywords everywhere. But the first 2 sentences are what really makes a difference. What's really being seen by Google, what's really being seen by, Bing, if you use it. And then also AI is starting to read these as well. So that's super important for this. So, all right, let me see. Got a couple of questions. Was this, oh, she sent me a screenshot. I'll take a look at that. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so zone 4, your episode titles. Now, every title of an episode is an opportunity to show up in more searches. So if you have episode 12, it's go time. Can you expand on that? Here's a couple of other things that I love to tell my clients is that 1, keywords are very important, but 2, people love episodes that are like how to, top 3, behind the scenes, things like that. They love like things that are like almost like a inquisitive mind piece. Okay. But it's also important for Google, SEO, discoverability within the platforms, AI, all of that, to make sure that your titles are actually including the keywords that you have. So wherever those keywords are, we want to make sure that those are in here. Now, here's another thing about episode titles. You can go back and change those today. You can go back to all the way back to episode number 1 if you wanted to, and start changing those to be much more keyword rich. What I do say here is if you have a transcript of that, then you can pull that down, especially if you're, somebody that's at like episode 330 or something like that. You can pull those transcripts down, and then you can kind of find out what those keywords were within that. Now, does it matter if your episodes are older? I did an impromptu poll a couple of months ago now, and I asked people if they would still listen to an episode that was 2 to 3 or older. And people said yes. I was shocked. I actually thought people were going to say, no, I don't want to listen to that. It's old news. It's old information. And this was a poll that I did on LinkedIn. So if you're connected with me on LinkedIn, you probably can go back and see that. But I was actually very shocked that people were like, no, I don't care. If it's still relevant, if it's still good information, I want to listen to it. So that tells me that these keywords or these changing of these titles to be boosted is actually still important, right? So that is something to note. What I do to keep track of these is I have just a spreadsheet that I use And in that spreadsheet, I have on it my episode number. I have the date that it was released. I then also keep track of whether or not it's solo, interview, coaching, whatever it might be. I keep track of the basic idea of what the topic was, the title that I currently have, and then I also do keep track of the CTA that's inside of it. And then I keep track of 30-day downloads, 90-day downloads, and beyond, 120 and then beyond. And if you are also pushing your RSS feed to YouTube, then I also have a little folder or a little column, sorry, there for YouTube because they don't aggregate to your hosting platform most of the time. So I then keep track of whether or not that episode is actually seeing some traction. Now, if it's a really old episode, maybe one episode, increase every 30 days is good for you. And you might be like, yeah, that works. But if you really think it's like a pillar episode or something that maybe you are sending people back to on a regular basis, or you really think it's like one of your creme de la creme episodes that you're like, yes, this is absolutely amazing, then you might want to then take that and change the keywords or change the title right within your hosting platform. This is not going to interfere with anybody that's already downloaded it. They're not going to be like, oh, I don't think I've ever listened to this before because they've already downloaded it. So that's it's not going to get repopulated to them. And it's only going to bring you more people that are searching for those keywords within it to be coming into your episode and listening to your episode even more. So all the way around, it's just a win-win to do that. And I think that changing your episode title, we do this quite often with my clients, is we look at them every quarter. So, when you're doing your books and you're paying your quarterly taxes, then you're also looking at your episode titles and your keywords to make sure that they're growing as well. So, any questions on the keywords in your episode titles? Let's take a look. Nope, I think so. Okay, so let's go. And I know that there's another episode. Um, there's also Jennifer did pop in that. I'll take a look at that at the end there. So, all right. Zone 5, your show notes and your website. So this is actually most important if you publish your show notes on your website, because then it can be indexed by Google or Bing or whoever, Safari or whatever you're using. Now, right now, within Apple, within Overcast, within Spotify, and all of those, they're not really searching for your show notes specifically. And show notes, some people call it show summary. So whatever it is that you use, it's whatever that is underneath your podcast when you look on the player. Okay, show notes, show summary. Everybody has something different, I feel. So in this particular case, the podcast players are not really doing a great job right now of doing a search for them. So it's not as important there. But it is important, one, if you publish it to YouTube, really important if you publish it to YouTube. And it's also important if this aggregates onto your website somehow. So I use Captivate. Captivate has a WordPress plugin. I use the WordPress plugin. And so what I do is I publish to Captivate and then bloop, it just goes right to my website. I don't have to do anything to it. And it's already there. So there's already a page created by Captivate itself. Beautiful thing. Love it. So I would definitely make sure that your episode has a show note, show summary that's at least 150 to 200 words if you can. And then again, I would definitely try to start with a keyword if you can, because that's going to be how Google picks it up, how Safari picks it up, how Bing picks it up. And then each of those episode pages on your website is going to have its own SEO opportunity. So any of those keywords that you have, depends. You can go in really deep and you can use those if you have a plugin, if you're using WordPress, or if you are using a different type, you can use some places. I think Squarespace uses like a back of the house tag system, and I'm trying to think of some others that I know of. There's definitely going to be some places where you can add some like keywords to that particular blog post or that particular page that you created. So just make sure that those are in there if you go that far. Okay. Each one of these is like just one more step, one more step. one more step. And it's up to you to decide how many of these steps you want to take, right? But if you can at least do your show notes, if they're moving over to your website, if you can at least do these show notes inside of your actual show when you're creating it, and make sure that those first couple of paragraphs are keyword rich, that's going to be found by AI and Google and all of that. So, all right, now this is, I think this is the last one. Look at, I am on it. Where's Andy? I'm on it, Andy. I'm like, really, I'm going fast today. I must have been nervous about having some time, extra time there. So, all right. So, last zone is transcripts. Now, Apple does already create transcripts for you, even if you don't. And that's okay, because they're just going to do it anyway. Now, you can override them by adding in your own. I do definitely know I use Buzzsprout and I use Captivate on a regular basis, and both of those definitely will allow you to put in transcripts. I'm trying to think if Libsyn does. Uh, it must, but I'm not thinking about where to put it right now. So if you are available, or if it is available in your hosting platform to add in your transcript and you have it, then I highly suggest putting that in. That is, again, that is going to be more searched nowadays, I feel, by things like Claude and Perplexity. Those are really going to be the ones that are starting to really read those transcripts. And those also will get pulled over to your website if you have a kind of a plugin or any kind of embed or whatnot. So that is something to note when you are looking at where your podcast is going. Is it going to some place that could get picked up by AI or Google or any of those? Because that's going to be where it's really important. Transcripts are still important as far as, inside of Apple for those people that need to look at the text. I don't know why you'd actually look inside of Apple for text for transcript. Maybe if you just didn't understand how it was said or something, but um, I have tried to look inside of Apple for something and for a transcript, and it's there, but it's sometimes you got to keep scrolling. It's annoying. So I'd much rather go to go to your website to find it. So that would be a win. That would be a win for you, right? Um, a full transcript can add 2,000 plus words of searchable content per episode. I mean, here I've probably already said 2,000 words today. So there's that. And well, in this particular episode today. And then tools like Descript, there's a lot of other tools now that make transcription really easy. I just happen to use Descript. I am a Descript expert, so that's why I know that, very comfortable with that. But I know also you can plug your episode into Cast Magic. That will do transcripts for you. Or you could use Otter or something like that. Whatever you want, however you want to get your transcript. But it's really, it's kind of a no-brainer nowadays to just kind of add that transcript in. The other thing to look at when you do your transcript, and I have been lax in this, and been going back to look at it, is sometimes Descript will just label you as speaker one and speaker two. Please go back and update it so it has your name, because it's just another authority piece, another way for people to search for you because that name keeps popping up. So if you happen to go to one of mine and you're like, oh yeah, she didn't update the speaker, let me know which episode so I can go fix it. Because I've been doing that, but I have been seeing some increases with the searchability of those just based on my name. So there is a way to post your transcript as a collapsible at the bottom of each episode. Again, Captivate does this for me, so I don't have to, but I know, and actually a lot of embed players do. So if you can upload it to your hosting platform, then you can do that there too as well. So, all right. Any questions right now? Let's see. I do have a couple. I have three here. Oh. How do you suggest linking between episodes that share a keyword at the bottom of a page? All right, so let's see. Suggest linking between episodes that share a keyword. You can just use that keyword again. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using the keyword over and over again. I think, as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, on Saturday, I believe it was Stephanie that mentioned that her over 40 podcast, she uses over 40 in every single episode. So when you type that in, yeah, that's she's using that in every episode. You absolutely can. I would not use that within your title name and your name itself, your actual host name there, because it's already going to be used quite often down below. But if that's the name of your podcast, then that's the name of your podcast. But that's how I would do that. And then I host with Fusebox FM, and they can include a transcript. Great, I love that. Thank you for letting us know, Linda. That's awesome. Okay, let me see. What's the difference between using a transcript versus creating a blog post for each episode on your website? I love this question, Andy. I love it. Well, before I finish, I'm just gonna, I think there's one slide here left, and that is just like, oh, no, there's two slides. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at slides. I'm much more in-person kind of gal. So your keyword zones, podcast title, host name, show description, episode titles, show notes and website, and transcript. Remember, clear beats clever, and in every single zone, just make sure. One of the things I didn't mention in the transcript is for the transcript is sometimes your transcript may not have all of the keywords like the title keywords and stuff because you don't think of the title until after. That's absolutely perfectly fine. It's absolutely that's fine. It's still going to pick up some of what you have said within it. And realistically, I always find the keywords for my titles well after I've made the episode. So and then I think this is the last little bit. So every month I do a clarity call, a free clarity call. If you're interested in doing that, how this works is I just there's a little questionnaire. I invite you and then I record it and then I release it as a podcast episode. And we kind of go over some of what we've talked about today. And what it is it's a little bit of more knowledge about your podcast on my podcast and me being a little bit more of an authority on and showing you what kind of changes you can do on your podcast. So that is just, it's a free 20-minute call. There's no obligation. I know you guys are all here for all the goodies, and I was happy to be here to deliver. So let me.
Kim, it looks like there's no slots available when I just logged on.
Oh, I will fix that. So save that, and I will fix that right after. So thank you for letting me know. Yep. Okay, so let's see. I have a couple more questions. So, okay, I'm going to go back to Jennifer's real quick. This was the message, so I chickened out and didn't do it. The name of the host or creator brand. Do not spam this with keywords or other people's names. You may get banned from Apple. Okay, well, is Jennifer Robin O'Keefe your name? I'm thinking it is. Jennifer, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so okay, perfect. All right, so if that's your name, and which I see that it is here. You're not spamming anybody. It's not anything different, right? And if you just add in your keywords. Now, did you already know what keywords you were going to use for this? Did you have an idea?
I was just going to add like a title, like you did. I was just going to say holistic wellness journalist, like it says on my website and stuff. But then I saw that message and I was like, I'm not going to touch this. I did touch my title, but I did not touch my name.
Yeah, no, if you are on your website and everything, if you're a holistic wellness journalist, then you're not spamming. You're not doing anything illegal or you're doing it. So yeah.
Do you think they were talking more about like just a list of things, kind of like what we did in the title?
So I think in this particular case, what they're doing here is they're telling people like, if you are not really a certified podcast growth coach, don't mention that you're really a certified podcast growth coach. You know what I mean? I think they're trying to make it, but I will say I do use Captivate. I've never seen that. So thank you for sharing it. And two, I've also updated in Libsyn, Podbean, Spreaker. Where else have I updated with clients? Within the last month and a half, we've updated some of these, and I've never seen that. So
It was just trying to
Maybe
scare me.
it's just trying to scare you. Yeah, don't let it do that. That's not good. So yeah. So no problem. No problem at all. Go ahead and hit go or save. Okay, let's see. What's okay? So back to Andy's question. What's the difference between using a transcript versus creating a blog post for each episode on your website? So the transcript, as you know, is just something where it will go verbatim what you said over and over again. I highly suggest putting that on. It's also searchable. It's a great place to search. If you want to do a blog post, I didn't even cover that, but yes, yes, please. How are you doing a blog post, Andy? I use Pod Page, so I can do both. Okay, I love it. Yeah, go
I've
ahead.
been
You can
meaning
speak.
to do both, but I have a whole list of I've been meaning to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that is one thing to take away from today, right? I can tell you all these different places, all 6 places to do. And here's the thing, maybe you get to 1 or 2 of them, and that's just going to help. That's just going to help. It's not going to be, maybe next month or in September, you get to 3 and 4 of them. That's great. Then you're going to help again. If you notice, yeah, there you go, some clapping. So if you notice that maybe your numbers are just kind of staying stagnant, then that's okay. That's okay. We'll just kind of do something else
So,
to get
Kim,
them
when you
to
say the
increase.
transcript, I'm going to just grab the transcript, even though it's not perfection from Riverside, because
Yep.
and I'll just pop it into Pod Page where I can pop in the transcript, and it doesn't screw up the whole web page experience for any user coming by.
So I don't have a pod page, but hopefully pod page allows it to be collapsible. Does
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Then yeah, then it should be fine.
Okay, good.
Here's the one thing I would tell you about your transcript. While you do not need to do any kind of big editing, white glove editing here, make sure your name is spelled correctly because I'm sure it spells it Andy a lot. And maybe it spells it Lions a lot too. So just make sure those are because that's what.
Well,
Yeah.
and sometimes on YouTube in tags, it's always good to put ANDYLIONS and sometimes dandelions. You never know.
I love it.
Because misspelled can also lead people to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is absolutely true. So if you want to hashtag some of those misspellings, that would be fine as well. I think that's a good place to start. But any other questions here today? I would love to put you on the spot. All right. All right. Lorian, do you have a question? I see you looking. No. Okay. All right.
Well, I have a question. I mean, if you're
All
really
right.
putting it out there, I
I
mean,
am.
because my title for my podcast does not put me anywhere because I don't have over 65. I don't have anything about pro aging. I do in the description, but I'm not going to show up on Spotify or Apple based on the title of my podcast.
Yes. Okay. So what you're going to do, who do you host with? Buzzsprout, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So within Buzzsprout, within the settings on Buzzsprout, what you're going to do is you're going to put pro aging. You mentioned another word there, another keyword. You're going to put that right before your podcast title. You can put it after, but I suggest to do before if you want. You do not have to change your intro. So when you introduce your show, you don't have to change that. And you do not have to change your cover art or anything like that. This is only within Buzzsprout.
That's very exciting. And
Yeah.
and how about my website? Same thing?
So in your website, so tell me on your website, what does that look like as far as the title? Does that just say your title right in there?
Gee, let me go look.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I have the logo up in the corner, and when you land there, it just says a pro aging podcast to help you thrive after 65.
Okay, okay. But what are you using for that website?
Don't be caged by your age.com.
No, 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 the
No.
hosting,
Oh,
the
for that. Oh, that's
WordPress,
Pod Page.
Squarespace, Pod
No,
Page.
Pod
Okay,
Page.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So if the name of it is Don't Be Caged by Your Age, as long as you have those other now, I'm thinking that it probably gets populated by the RSS feed, correct?
Correct. And
Okay,
I get
so
a
it
good
will.
score. And I get a good score for my SEO based on Podpage's ranking of SEO.
Okay. So I'm thinking that when you update it in Buzzsprout, it will automatically update the RSS feed there. Now, it doesn't
Okay.
change your RSS feed name. That's going to still remain Don't Be Caged by Your Age or however it says there, but it will change the name within Podpage, Apple, Spotify, all of those. You'll be able to be found that way.
And then, of course, the other question I have is on the titles. I'm a huge fan of episode numbers.
Yes.
And I know I've heard other people say put the episode number at the end. One of the things I do, and I don't know if this matters at all, but when I initially publish my post on Buzzsprout, it is without the episode number so that when it comes over to my feed, so there's always the name, it's established the URL as the title.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go in and I edit it and I add the episode number. But the URL is already created. That doesn't get changed. It's just to help people and send people to the episode number.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if
So
that's
yes, there are some very polarizing people about the episode number. And I also do know that according to Apple, please don't use it type thing. I use it. I use it. I actually put mine at the beginning, and I do this for two things. And one of them is if you are hard of sight and you are using something that you're speaking into to find an episode, it's so much easier for you to say into your device, I would like to listen to episode 005 or 050 than it is for you to remember. Episode 005 was how do I, oh shoot, I gotta go. What was that again? I forget. So much easier, right? For them to remember that. Also, if you change the keywords because it's not growing, if you change the title because it's not growing, you're not going to confuse anybody. You're going to say this was, and I say that too within some of my episodes. I'll say, yep, you can go back to listen to episode 062, where I did a coaching call with Ashley Costello. And when you go there, I don't need to remember the name because it maybe has changed, but I know that that is going to be episode 062 at the beginning or the end. I like to do the beginning. I know Lorianne does the end. Lorianne, do you want to have any input about how it works at the end for you?
I still do know my episode numbers really well so that I can refer people to them. However, the reason why I started putting them at the end was because I heard an episode with one of the founders from Libsyn. And he specifically did say, be very careful about what you put in the very beginning of the title, like you don't want to use the word the. So that's why I put them. But I still firmly believe in having an episode number in there just to guide people.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So I feel like in this particular case, I'm going to leave that up to host preference. If you would like the episode number at the beginning or the episode number at the end. But definitely, I would say definitely put it in. That's a good place to do. So, great questions. I've been wondering about the episode number in the show notes. I have not been to the pod. Okay, so and then don't forget if you upload video, which I know some of us do, go back to YouTube and make sure the numbers correspond because you might not have those there. So, um,
Kim, I got a question since you brought up
yeah.
YouTube and video inside Captivate. Why is it that if you do it ahead of time and you don't want the YouTube video to be live, like it doesn't seem to recognize it inside Captivate. It says that it's not a
Yeah.
good URL. Do you know what I mean?
Because it's not published yet. Yeah. So Captivate has not kind of caught up. And if anybody doesn't realize, if you're not using Captivate, what ends up happening inside of Captivate is it will allow you to connect your YouTube video to your actual episode. How does this work? When it's on your website, if somebody clicks on more or something like that, it will actually show the video right there if you've uploaded a video right on your website, which is so amazing because nobody's leaving it, right? So, and that's the whole goal. We don't want people to leave our website. We want to stay there. And so, what it does though is if you have, say, for instance, I'm going to be doing a summer series, it's coming out this Friday or starting this Friday, and I did do video for it. So, I'm uploading the video and that will be ready. But Friday morning, I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to add that to to the information, the back of the house in Captivate, so that that link is active, because it will not won't do it until it is. Yeah, that's a Captivate issue. But now that I think about it, because I'm in others, Buzzsprout doesn't have that at all, that feature at all. And Libsyn doesn't either. I don't produce for Podbean and Spreaker. I just have clients that are in it, so I don't know about those two. But I do produce for clients that are in Libsyn and in Buzzsprout, and they don't have a feature like that for Captivate that Captivate does. So we're kind of lucky for that way. Yeah. Podpage does a brilliant job at bundling your YouTube video with the episode when it posts. It looks great. Oh, look at that. NEPG members get a discount with Podpage. So for anybody that's here, most of the lovely people here are from the New England Podcasters group. That is the group that I belong to here. I'm happy to. I was reached out by Andy in, I think, January, and she found me on LinkedIn. Obscurely. Well, I say obscure, but it's
I
not.
think I found you through the phenomenal goddess Lorianne.
Oh, well, thank you, Lorianne. That's even better. Thank you. So I did not know that. I thought it was LinkedIn. So she invited me to come as a guest in February, and then Lorianne invited me, and I joined because it's amazing. I do love it. It's a great program. If you are not in New England and can't make it to Westford Cat, you can join and still come to the Zoom meetings. So correct? Yeah, she's saying
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you can tune in. I've got a free ticket for anybody who wants to come at a monthly meetup. And then you can learn more about how we also share in the community pod garden.
Yes, yes, it's a great, and the community pod garden also does a monthly Zoom call on Wednesdays, and we always learn something, as long as your Wi-Fi is good. We always learn something. And
Thank you, Kim,
so
for the shout out. Thank you. I appreciate it.
of course, yeah, of course. And the next one is the 18th of July. Is that right?
The 11th. And we're
The
talking
11th.
about Substack and how people are putting their podcasts on Substack and why and how easy it can be. It doesn't have to be directly, you can just upload it yourself. A lot of activity on that.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a couple of clients ask about Substack too. Um, I do love Substack and want to dive into more. So I will be there, and I'm bringing a guest. So I can't wait. So, and it's not Patrick.
Hooray.
He can't come every time.
Oh,
Sorry.
darn.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Is there any other questions for today? Anybody have any big takeaways? They're like, I've already done this and it's already working. All right. All right. So this is the six places to put your keywords, or your keywords. You know what? I actually have a small bonus one. Shh, don't tell anybody, because if they've already left, they don't know. Your ID3 tags, they're not as important as they used to be, but if you do update them, there are some older platforms that still read them. So those are the ones when you're producing the episode, it's like behind the scenes. It's called an ID3 tag, and you can update it. It's really important in music. My husband uses it a lot for his music for Spotify and whatnot. But you know what? It doesn't help to put more information inside of those as well. So just another cute little whatnot. So all right. Thank you, everyone. It has been a pleasure.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank
You're
you
very
so much, Kim.
welcome.
That was outstanding. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Kim.
Thank you. And I will
Off to
update that
Buzzsprout.
if you want. So thank you. Talk to you
Everybody
soon.
go update your keywords now.
That's right. Headed right over there now.
Go get
Kelly.
found.
Bye.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.